No, whatever. Who cares?
I'd like to call this meeting to order, July the 4th, 6 p.m. at the North Huron Town Hall Theatre. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land in which we gather is the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Number 2, confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby accepts the agenda for July 4th, 2023 council meeting as presented. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve? Councillor Van Hitterson? All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interests? Seeing none. Public comment, opportunity of the public, members of the public to speak to any item of business on the agenda, 2 minutes per person. Seeing none. Consent agenda, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts the consent item 5.1.1, and further, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the consent items 5.1.2 to 5.3.2 for information. May I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield? Councillor Wright? Would anybody like to pull something? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I have a few comments, and if it's okay with you, Reeve,
Yes.
I'll just go through them all because I think it'd be faster that way. Just the bylaw report, one comment on that is it didn't actually say, it said how many new complaints were received, but not how many were closed out and resolved of 2023. So just for future reports, it'd be good to have that information. And then some of the other reports we got back, I guess maybe I'll start with the financial report we got. I found that valuable in a lot of ways because primarily you could tell if you're on plan or not, right? Like we've gone through half the year, you know, if you've spent a bit above 50% or a bit below 50%, you know, you're going on plan, right? So, you know, that's the same kind of information I need to see for project reporting. There's a lot of reporting, project reporting provided to us. There's a lot of information provided. The information that was provided was good, but it didn't actually have any context. It didn't say whether we're on plan or not for the year. And so just providing some feedback, it's really important to me to find out are we actually on track or are we behind schedule? The clerk's report was a bit better in that context because it gave specifics. It said, we're going to get this stuff done in the next quarter, right? So it provided specific timelines for that. And then my only one question was, first of all, there's an amazing amount of projects on the go right now. A lot of work going on, so it's good to see that. But the one comment was or the question was on the tennis courts. I saw that project was deferred, and so I just wondered if I could get an update as to why that project was deferred.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Wright. The reason is the amount of money that was set aside was about 3.5 times less than what was necessary for the project. So we've actually, in the process of determining whether we can get some future funds for the project, either through grant match or other funding opportunities. So for right now, we're holding steady until we can go through the process again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No further comments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Yes, it's to Chris again. Sorry, I missed one when I was talking to you in the corner. The 103,000 for it's under reserves. 103,000 for the airport. I was just wondering, when is that leaving that position?
Sorry, can you repeat?
The 103,000 under the airport reserves?
Okay, so the reserve report you received,
Yeah.
Councillor, sorry, through you, Reeve Heffer to Councillor Palmer. The report that you're looking at is year-end 2022.
Okay.
As per the audited financial statements. So all of the consolidation, the several consolidations and renaming of reserves, amalgamation of reserves, et cetera, we will all see that in 2023.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
Thank you.
And my other one was 5 to 11, the cemetery bylaw update. I'm just sensitive to the fact that no funeral home was mentioned, like none of our partners, I'll call them partners, because these businesses that deal with what this cemetery bylaw is going to affect. They're not mentioned, whether it was the stone, the people that sell the stones and what have you. Are they all satisfied?
Through your brief effort, Councillor Palmer, yes, we've gone through that process, and we've also gone through the process of taking our bylaw and collaborating with the BAO to make sure that everything's in line. We don't specifically name our partners in that bylaw because it's a universal bylaw that will continue, and businesses come and go from time to time, so that's why we don't name anybody specifically, including names of individuals like myself. As director, you wouldn't put my specific name into that particular bylaw, but you would put this position title in the bylaw.
May I? Would it be a good idea to, in the future, for the sake of councils, to know that that has taken place, you've dealt with, I'm just calling them partners, because I'm not sure what else to call them.
Certainly.
Industry partners. Can you just state industry partners so council knows that you've been out knocking on doors and talking to the different interested parties?
Certainly, we can do that in the future.
Thanks.
Thank you. Some very good input from councillors there. Appreciate that. Move in a second.
Yes, you do yours.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Public meetings, hearings, and delegations, there are none. 7.3.1, 2023-02 Child Care Services Staffing Levels. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Manager of the Child Care Services dated July 4th, 2023 regarding child care program staffing levels for information purposes. And further that, Council authorized the Manager of Child Care Services to transition 3 current part-time registered early childhood educator positions into 3 full-time registered early childhood educator positions in the 2023 fiscal year. And further, that the council authorizes the Manager of the Child Care Services to monitor and report on any additional full-time registered early childhood educator staff needed to maximize the township's enrollment to reach licensed capacity. May I have a mover and a seconder before we go to questions? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Wright, are there any questions for our CAO? Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
Yeah, not so much a question, but just a comment, just in case, people watching this are not aware that these staff positions are wholly funded by the county, right? So they're not taxpayer funded, because I know a similar item came up last meeting and I voted against it, but this is different. It's county funded. They run a surplus annually. So, I just want to make it clear why I plan to vote a different way this time, because it is county funded and won't affect future taxation.
Okay, any other, Councillor Palmer, please?
Yeah, we have 95,000 surplus, so yes, that will cover off any changes we're going to be voting on. What about next year? Those wages? Like, in the past, if we needed more funding to cover off salaries, we increased the fee. Now, how can that work now with this new $10, $20, whatever the system is now? How's that work? If you could please enlighten me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Reeve, in terms of, I can't speak to the specifics in terms of the funding, in terms of I'm not Our manager of childcare is on vacation this week, so unable to be here, so I can't speak to the details of it. But essentially, in terms of the way it works, is the money rolls in. We receive money from the county to provide the service, and we also receive some user fee money. And so at the end of the year, if there's a surplus, which there was in 2022, that money rolls over. So in terms of the 95,000, you've already approved your childcare budget for 2023. It didn't include the 95,000. So actually, you're already to the good on your childcare budget of 95,000. So depending on how much of that you use, the money continues to roll over year to year. We were putting it into reserve, but we're not to put it into reserve. We're to carry it over as per the county's recommendations. So the CWAC funding, we refer to it as, in terms of we're in the first year of full implementation, and it will continue on. But we'll continue to work with it and work with the county closely as we move forward.
But can we be certain that there'll be a surplus? Like, maybe not 95,000, but something? Like, you're right about the money for now, for any increase we do now for numbers, salaries. But next year, I always worry about, okay, what about next year and the next year? How's that going to be funded? So I'm just hoping that there'll be a surplus, but are we ever guaranteed or not?
Through your Reeve, in
And
terms
child numbers help to roll this out, I know that, but
Yeah, through Reeve, just in terms of, so we're not at our license capacity yet. So, and actually, you'll see, or in the financials, our expenditures are up on our childcare, but if you look, our revenue is up as well. So the reason is in terms of we've been able to take more children into the program. So it's good. It's a good situation that we're in. Right?
Right.
So in terms of, as we're able to take more children in, we receive more user funding, we receive more CWAC funding. So we want to continue on that path.
you bet. Okay,
Right?
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. No other questions from the floor? Okay, take it to a vote. Those in favor? Carried. 7.5.1, FR 2023-03, request to utilize reserve funds for on-plan maintenance. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the fire chief dated July 4th, 2023, regarding a request to utilize reserve funds for on-plan maintenance for information purposes. And further, that the council approves the utilization of funds from the Fire Equipment Reserve Fund 01-1000-3220 to cover the costs of on-plan maintenance work on 2 FD&H apparatuses. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Councillor Whitfield. Questions for our staff? Any questions from anybody? Okay. Those in favor? Carried. Seven point 6.1, CAO 2023-13, Wingham BIA benches procurement. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the Economic Development Officer dated July 4th, 2023, regarding the procurement of benches for the Wingham BIA for information purposes. And further, that council agrees to waive the RFQ requirement and award the purchase of 8 outdoor benches for the Wingham downtown area. And further, that the council authorize staff to proceed with the procurement of 8 classic heritage benches for the classic displays in the amount of $18,907 plus applicable taxes. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Deputy Reeve Faulkner. Any questions for our EDO Maracas? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, actually, more of a comment. I just actually like to thank one of the members of the BA who did a lot of work. He actually took the time to go visit the manufacturers and try out the benches, see them in person, and made sure they were good. So, yeah, I'd like to thank our BAA for the effort they're putting into this.
Any other questions for our EDO? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Okay, the classic at 18.9 for 8. What about the Riverside and the Ergo? Like, were they just ruled out because of how they were built or how they looked or functioned, or was there a particular reason?
Yeah, we're given reasons at the BIA meeting, but I'll let
Oh.
EDO to talk about it, please.
Yep, thanks. Through the reeve to Councillor Palmer. It was partially the design of the benches, just aesthetically, but mostly they did not have the 1/3, 2/3 split, which means for accessibility purposes, it's harder for people to get up and down from the bench. Yeah, so that was the main factor there.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. 7.6.2, CS 2023-04 North Huron Museum Deaccessioning Project. Report number 1, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report prepared by the Community Engagement Coordinator dated July 4th, 2023 regarding the North Huron Museum Deaccessioning Project, report number 1, for information purposes. And further, that the council authorizes staff to continue with the deaccessioning process for the list of artifacts attached to staff report CS 2023-04 in accordance with the North Huron Museum deaccession policy. We have a mover, Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright. Questions for our engagement officer, Denise? Anybody has any questions? All in favor then? Carried. 7.6.3, CS-2023-05, Huron Pioneer Thresher and Hobby Association requests to be recognized as a municipally significant event. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report prepared by the Community Engagement Coordinator dated July 4, 2023 regarding the Huron Pioneer Threshers and Hobby Association event for information purposes. And further, that council hereby supports the request of the Huron Pioneer Thresher and Hobby Association into making an application to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGO-CO, for a special occasions permit to be hold a bar at the Blythen District Community Center on September 8th and 9th, 2023 from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. in conjunction with the Huron Pioneer Threshers Reunion. And further, that the council proclaims the event to be of municipal significance, and further, that the council waives the municipal alcohol policy requirement of an off-duty police officers or private security company personnel to be present for upcoming Huron Pioneer Thresher and Hobby Association bar being held at the Blythe and District Community Center Hall on September 8th and 9th, 2023. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Deputy Reeve Faulkner. Are there any questions for our Community Engagement Coordinator? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thanks, through you, Reeve. Yeah, the only thing I was curious about was the waiving the need for security, either private or OPP. I'm sure there's a history there, that makes sense, I'm just not aware of.
There is,
what it
through
is.
you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Wright. Over history, they're serving alcohol to adults that are definitely of age. There's not really concern for minors, and it has never been a huge drinking fest, if you call it. There's no reason to require this service, but I do need the authorization through council. So I have interviewed, talked with, and feel very comfortable that if there is a situation, normal security, as in OPP or a call like that, would be able to be done, but they have lots of on-site security all the time as the Threshers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for our coordinator? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence, none. Council reports. Reeve activity report, I'd just like to mention with County Council, they'll be starting at number 4 and 86, the crosswalks there and the cross median, they're going to be working that. I think that was going to be starting today, and it's going to go on for almost six weeks by the sounds of it. Again, kudos out to the Moncrief Roads getting underway now. And also, we had a meeting with Westario, and there's been some questions going on the last while. The board has come up with a new CEO, and it seems that the people are quite confident what is going to be going on. They have to correct some deficiencies and making capital investment, and communication was one of the big things that was missing, and I think a lot of that stuff is going to be corrected. So I know you're going to be seeing their CEO. He made that clear to our CAO up there the other day. And again, the dividends are going to be shortened for a period of time, but hopefully it's going to be short notice, a short time frame. And so it was overall, and they're just looking at moving the thing ahead. We all know what the costs has gone on with things escalating up, and they just, some things are getting at their age where they have to be corrected. So that's what they're facing with, and it looks like they're going forward strongly with that. Okay. Council member reports, verbal or written updates from members who sit on boards or committees. Like everyone, it was a quiet couple weeks. Right, and, okay, any comments by members? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thanks, through you, Reeve. Just a question. I know it was standard for there to be kind of an annual public meeting, and that was temporarily suspended due to COVID, but is that going to be resumed this year?
And you're talking with Westario?
No. There was an annual meeting. I think it's right in our
Okay.
bylaws that there's an annual kind of open meeting with the public, right?
I'll pass it over to the clerk, please.
So through your worship, to answer Council Wright's question, so as of right now, there is a requirement in the procedure bylaw that to hold one town hall public meeting per year. Late last year, Council did pass a motion recommending that we bring something back to remove that from the procedure bylaw in favor of a different approach to adding public input into the budget process, which is generally how the town hall public meeting was used in the past. However, with our director of finance getting up to speed kind of over this past little while, him and myself haven't necessarily had a chance to sit down to see what that looks like yet, but you'll see a staff report on that based on the previous council direction.
Okay. Councillor Palmer, please.
Just a question, Reeve. You said regarding Westario, the dividends shortened. Could you define that?
Oh, they're going to be,
Same figure, same amount, whatever the figure happened to be for the year, or suspended, or?
no,
what?
it's going to be cut approximately in half for short-term time. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Reeve. So historically, we've received a dividend of about 50 to 60,000 a year. This year in 2023, our dividend's 30,000. So as the Reeve has indicated, approximately half. And we're going to see a reduction reported at the AGM, as I understand, for at least 2 years. And as the Reeve has indicated, the intention is that and it's just not our dividend, all the shareholders' dividends have been reduced. And that money is being funneled back into infrastructure for a couple of years.
All right.
The expectation, or what was indicated, was that by year 3, that we would see a return to the dividend that we're accustomed to. But I wasn't necessarily guaranteed, but that's certainly the timeline that they're working on.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you. It's, I guess it'd be to the Reeve. Back at the last Blythe BIA meeting, there was some comments and some talk around the table about now that the 4 and 25 project is going ahead and some sidewalk improvement in that area is going ahead. They were just wondering if sometime in the future, if you could convey to the county council that I think they thought that a meeting between the G2G Trail and the municipality and Huron County, just to go over and get in the same idea as to how to, in the future, handle bicycle traffic that, now that we're going to have a crossing for them to use to get across to Cowbell Restaurant or over to the Tim Hortons and such. Some of those improvements are being made on the south end of town of just addressing the pathway through town that just needs to be a little bit more difficult to attain an answer. They just thought maybe putting the heads together might be beneficial in the future.
Duly noted. Thank you. Any other question? Comments by members? Seeing none, go to bylaws. 10.1, bylaw number 47, 2023, Reserve Fund Bylaw. May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Deputy Reeve Faulkner, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 48-2023, appointment of Director of Legislative Service / Clerk. A mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, seconder, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 49-2023, Cemetery Bylaw. May I have a mover? Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried. The announcements, the next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, July 17th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the North Huron Town Hall Theatre. The next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held Thursday, August 17th, 2023 at 6:30 in the Hot Stove Lounge at the West Cast Community Complex. The next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 31st, 2023 at 8 a.m. at the Blythe and District Community Center. Are there any other announcements any of the council would like to bring forward? Seeing none. Other business, none. Closed session, reporting out, not happening. Conformatory bylaw number 50-2023-conformatory bylaw. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Number 15, adjournment that the council of the Township of North Huron agree that being no further business before council, the meeting be hereby adjourned at
6:28 p.m.
6:28 p.m. May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, Deputy Reeve Faulkner, all in favor?